Imagine this. Everything you now know about death, its aftermath, its irreversibility, is false. Think about a millennium-old text asserting to forecast the path of your spirit at death. This book is a useful tool for grasping life as well as the next world. The Tibetan Book of the Dead answers the most difficult question humanity faces. What comes next? It's fascinating to consider this narrative beyond death. It speaks of existence. Every uncertainty, significant decision, and significant transformation you've gone through shapes the path this timeless wisdom unveils. It has the secret to releasing the cycle of attachment, uncertainty, and anxiety that keeps us from growing. Through breathtaking views of brilliant light, peaceful gods, and ferocious devils, this excursion investigates your lowest awareness. What if the greatest riddles of life were resolved inside of you? Today, we will discuss the profound lessons about the afterlife, death, and living a clear, purposeful, courageous life found in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This famous book will show how well-known spiritual concepts connect with contemporary scientific developments to transform our views. Are you prepared for the next riddle? Are you ready to learn the secrets of life following death and how it might change you? Once you view this, you cannot go back. Should all you know about death be mistaken? What if life beyond death is deeper, more enigmatic, and more promising than we could have ever imagined? People have puzzled death for millennia. The religions, ideas, and cultures of the world have presented many angles on what resides outside of this planet. Have we misinterpreted everything? We will discuss the fascinating and time-tested concepts of death now found in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. As we learn its wisdom, you might wonder about your opinions about life, death, and the hereafter. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is a great roadmap for the living to get ready for death, while the departed negotiate the next world. It directs attitude. Think of an old map that clarifies and liberates the vast secrets of life and the next world. This beloved book holds that death is not the end. There is a transformation. It provides access to another world. The first minutes following death, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, are a period of immense possibility. Indeed, it represents an opportunity. It offers a spiritual departure from reincarnation. This presents a revealing chance. This is a tough adjustment. It issues a warning. The trip might be terrifying. A soul moves into the bardo, a border zone separating death from reincarnation. The soul in the bardo awaits vivid sights, unusual beings, and reflections of its most secret worries and ambitions. Some think these events either release the spirit or bond it to another incarnation in samsara. Not environmental variables. Mind and heart states define results. Think about it. Could death be a process we participate in actively? Our way of life, decisions, and spirit condition greatly influence our path at death, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This emphasizes how reflective our lives are. Death is not some random or terrifying thing. Regarding bardo visions and entities, as the book reveals, appearances can fool. They show soul consciousness. Bright lights, calm gods, and strong figures mirror the person. The calm gods are love, empathy, and knowledge. Angry ones? They represent our relationships, biggest anxieties, and unresolved problems. These forecasts open a portal for our souls. One can get liberation in this sense. Bonded by fear, attachment, or misinterpretation, the soul returns to rebirth. Stop, please. Is this not a fundamental question for comprehending death? Usually shunned as the last event, it is covered in darkness and uncertainty. The Tibetan Book of the Dead regards death as a spiritual trip. Instead of concluding the story, it ushers in a new chapter. This ancient text aligns quite closely with the concepts of near-death experiences. Many claim incredible lighting, great love, and mirrors of their lives. These could be bardo, from books dating back millennia. Could these old ideas signify more for us than we could possibly know? This exceeds belief. We have to start living in a different manner. Should death resemble life, every choice we make now counts. Loving, forgiving, and embracing our concerns helps us get ready for that last journey. Beyond looking at the afterlife, the Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches how to live totally in the present via awareness and intention. Imagine what would happen if we came to see death as not the end. Imagine if we saw death as a deep metamorphosis capable of enlightenment. Would it frighten us less? Should we lead more audacious lives? Love nearer, offer greater pardon. When we apply these lessons, the Tibetan Book of the Dead goes beyond conventional death conceptions. Powerful is this vision of hope, liberty, and human potential. Suppose we really followed its counsel. Perhaps one could see death as a teacher instead of a villain. How might we comprehend life and ourselves? What do you believe? Might death indicate something more than what we first consider? If so, how would you go about today differently? Though it is an old book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead has guided seekers for millennia. It clarifies the death moment and its enigmatic course. Its actual objective is to lead you across the bardos, or transitory phases, separating death from reincarnation. Enter a realm where your spirit melts time and space, changing reality and transcending the physical form. The bardo transforms. The Tibetan Book of the Dead maps the spirit throughout the uncharted territory. It shows human challenges, supernatural possibilities, and lovely images. This work is unique since death is not the end and has enormous promise. This signifies a pivotal moment. This is a liberating place. The lessons underline that transitional phases provide spiritual consciousness. They are not haphazard, chaotic events. These times of structure let the soul go beyond the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Still, emancipation is not something one finds automatically. The text makes clear how heart and intellect shape bardo experiences. The soul suffers from fear, attachment, or bewilderment, and runs the danger of reincarnation. The soul can achieve enlightenment when it acknowledges its experiences as reflections of its consciousness. Give that some thought. Self-awareness determines soul destiny, not external forces. The calm deities, aggressive entities, and illuminating beings of the scriptures mirror the interior environment of the soul. One must have clarity of perception, identify these feelings as part of the self, and interact with them without attachment or fear if one is to negotiate the bardo. This makes the Tibetan Book of the Dead more than just a handbook for the deceased. This imparts life lessons. It reminds us that events of today influence events tomorrow. Our preparations for this wonderful trip include our thoughts, deeds, and spiritual practices. It helps us to face our worries, live deliberately, and be conscious every moment. The Tibetan Book of the Dead presents a close-up view of death. We have to realize right now our actual nature. Knowing death helps one to see the essence of life. We show the road of emancipation in getting ready for the bardo. The Tibetan Book of the Dead holds that after death, the soul passes 3 main bars. Every bardo offers deep liberation or the possibility of samsara, thereby reflecting a different stage in the death to rebirth cycle. Let us review each one separately. Work with the bardo of death first. At this point, the soul moves away from the body. Suddenly, the clear light shows amazing clarity. The spiritual essence, the ultimate truth, pure and everlasting, is this immense brightness. Accepting this light as its essence will help the soul to immediately free itself. There are enormous opportunities, but also enormous difficulties in our era. Without spiritual preparation and self-awareness, the clarity of this moment could be intolerable. The soul might proceed to the next bardo without realizing its significance. The bardo of visions follows when the soul encounters vivid and perhaps painful experiences. The serene and wrathful gods seem as mirrors of the consciousness of the soul. The calm gods are loving, gentle, and wise. These invite one to identify their greater selves. Rather, frustrated gods reflect our attachments, anxieties, and unresolved problems. This bardo could be tumultuous and upsetting as the soul travels through its inner world, unedited. The intention is to identify these visions as mental expressions. Accepting this reality helps the soul achieve freedom and peace. But if attachment or fear paralyze the heart, these false pictures might capture the spirit. At last, we arrive at the bardo of rebirth, the last stage before reincarnation. Remaining emotions, goals, and karmic forces now draw the spirit forward. The energy in play determines your identity, birthplace, and challenges. The soul's unresolved patterns and attachments constantly draw it to a new life, demonstrating the power of karma. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes this bardo as a pivotal moment where detachment and awareness can lead to nirvana. But here karma draws many souls back into the cycle of birth and death. Each of the bardos of death, visions, and rebirth has special challenges and possibilities. Our decisions in life, mental state, and spiritual activities have profound roots. They are not haphazard. These bardos expose a deep reality that is both humbling and empowering. Our souls evolve upon death. But these bardos instruct even beyond death. They tell us that the decisions we make today, our attitude to worries, our development of love, and our readiness to let go, ready us for these major changes. Not only for the next world, the bardos offer a powerful manual for living deliberately and attentively in the present. It's incredible how old knowledge still relates to contemporary living. The Tibetan Book of the Dead detailed the transforming trip the spirit takes after death over a millennium ago. Still, its conclusions speak to almost death reports we hear about now. Could these two ages-old sources provide a universal truth about consciousness? The clear light depicted in the bardo of death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead asserts that a pure, brilliant, and blinding light is visible immediately after death. This light stands for the actual character and ultimate truth of the soul. Understanding it as their core will aid in one's liberation. Many people relate a brilliant, loving light, much like in near-death experiences. Many refer to it as a haven, a place of acceptance and calm. Some people, both inside and outside, find an amazing connection to the light. These tales show the old truth. That light resides inside of each of us. We then go to the bardo of visions, where the soul meets terrible and peaceful entities. Modern near-death experiences can feature ethereal beings, some of which either challenge or comfort. Some perceive these creatures as angels or departed loved ones, radiating knowledge and serenity. Some perceive these entities as deeper and more troublesome images associated with guilt, regret, or unresolved anxiety. Both events are quite unique and molded by the inner state of the person. The Tibetan Book of the Dead presents these visions as consciousness-based, often describing the light or beings they come across as communicating through emotions or ideas. Near-death experienced people communicate their most inner selves. The life review of many near-death survivors also offers another fascinating link. They remember seeing their life play out as active participants, profoundly feeling the emotions they created in others. They experience grief and guilt together with love and kindness. These, then, reflect the soul's enormous journey over the bardo of visions, where one meets inner reality and unresolved karma. Both customs stress that these occurrences train the soul through its decisions and awaken it to its true character. The bardo of rebirth links with modern narratives of people experiencing a strong pull to life or another. Some near-death experiencers describe an insurmountable barrier or a decision to return to Earth, often stemming from unresolved problems or affection for loved ones. Some people experience a tremendous draw toward a different road, as if their path is only now starting. The Tibetan Book of the Dead holds that karma, residual emotions, and attachments define the future incarnation. Events and acquired knowledge shape the soul's path, according to both perspectives. How profoundly do old lessons from millennia ago relate to present-day people of many backgrounds and belief systems? Should these discoveries suggest a universal truth, something basic to consciousness? Modern near-death experiences, as well as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, suggest death as a metamorphosis. They expose a quite cosmic and personal trip. This has what consequences for us now? If the road shown in ancient literature and modern experiences is real, how should these parallels influence our way of life? Both customs underline that our decisions now have long-lasting effects. Both traditions inspire us to live a life of awareness, love, and courage, so that we could be ready for the enormous transformation ahead. Between these old lessons and contemporary narratives is a fundamental link: hope. Both exhort individuals not to let death scare them. It is an awakening, an opportunity to re-establish our actual selves. It could be a subtle reminder that far from what we believe, life and death are more delicate and brilliant. Perhaps more so than death, the Tibetan Book of the Dead provides understanding of existence itself. They highlight the near relationship between our way of life and our dying preparations. These lessons inspire attention, compassion, and life's goals rather than morbidity. They inspire complete awareness, involvement, and a close relationship to the present. These lessons center on consideration of impermanence. It calls for realizing that nothing, no tie, accomplishment, or material possession, is permanent. Initially, it could be disturbing. Upon closer examination, however, we may uncover liberation. Accepting impermanence will help us to shed our clinging, worries, and attachments. We invite ourselves to live freely and honestly, experiencing the beauty of every moment without clinging to anything. How frequently do we forget our blessings as we assume they will remain? This meditation helps us to value every breath, dawn, and relationship. Understanding impermanence enables us to relinquish and grasp what is really important. Understanding our time is limited. We concentrate on what is important. Our first concerns are love, compassion, and connections. They come much above fleeting interests. We act more deliberately, get comfort in the rhythms of life, and get nearer to loved ones. The teachings hold that spiritual development calls for compassion. Tibetan compassion sees our shared humanity, hardships, and journey, and transcends simple kindness. It's about realizing people reflect oneself, and vice versa. Compassion gets us above selfishness and self-interest. We come across pain with empathy and a ready wish to assist. Compassion changes us and heals others. It softens our hearts, extends our knowledge, and gets us ready for the exciting trip ahead. These lessons stress mantra reciting. It transcends the recurrence of holy sounds to elevate the mind to higher frequencies and bring our awareness into line with profound truths. Reciting a mantra with intention helps us link with the cosmos and our own deepest selves. Think of Om Mani Padme Hum, a potent liturgical prayer for wisdom and compassion. Every vowel speaks to spiritual growth. Recitation reminds us of our actual selves, helps us to quiet the mind and straighten the heart. It guards us from uncertainty, doubt, and fear, therefore transcending mere spiritual development. As much as they prepare us for death, meditation, kindness, and mantra recitation also enrich our lives. They enable us to live deliberately, discover serenity, and gracefully and courageously meet the demands of life. These instruments are like seeds we plant now to create a firm basis for the toughest events in life, including the last change we all must undergo. In these lessons, the most crucial one is that preparing for death entails totally submerging oneself in life. You must fully embrace each moment, love without reservation, and adhere to your core values. Death is, as we learn, a beneficial guide, a reminder to treasure our times, love fully, and welcome spiritual development with every stride. Think of how much this strategy could transform our lives. Suppose we stopped giving what counts any thought. What if we dropped the small problems holding us back? Using every situation, person, and obstacle, may we develop compassion, wisdom, and love. The Tibetan book of The Dead offers more than just a route guide to the next world. Brilliantly, profoundly, and with a wide heart, they highlight life. They remind us that preparing for death shouldn't wait until the final moments. Every breath we exhale starts it now. Realizing this makes life seem like a road toward freedom, deceit. Though we usually avoid it in our thinking, the phrase can stop our advancement. Suppose death wasn't the end. Imagine if it were among the best teachers in life, guiding change and illumination. The profound viewpoint offered in the Tibetan Book of the Dead helps us to see death as a new beginning rather than as a death sentence. It helps us to see death as a possibility for human growth. The lessons inspire us to face death with clarity rather than out of a gloomy curiosity. Rather, they help us to understand the core of life itself. Some feel death serves as a mirror. It reflects the core of our life, our values, and the unresolved issues we carry about. That period of introspection offers a chance for significant change, a chance to wake to what is actually important. When we face death head-on, something really changes. The things we used to consider important, earthly possessions, small arguments, meager aspirations, start to fade. Under their direction, clarity emerges. We start to see life in its actual form, fleeting, priceless, and rich with opportunities to grow, treasure, and connect. Death has a special power to cut off the diversions of life and force us to focus on what endures: our relationships with others, our influence, and the depth of our inner life. Still, gaining this insight is not easy work. Dealing with death calls for a tremendous courage, that which will enable us to realize our time is limited and that we have no influence over the moment our final breath is taken. Many of us avoid this fact. However, the Tibetan teachings encourage us to welcome it completely. Why would one be doing this? For when we accept our death, we discover we are more completely present in the events of our life. We stop living as though we have endless time. Rather, we come to value every moment, every interaction, and every opportunity to grow in love and wisdom. Think about how much our life would change if we daily adopted this awareness. Think about stopping before a disagreement with yourself. Is this really how I want to spend my limited time? or pausing to cherish the joyful laughter of a dear one, aware that such moments are fleeting, says the wonderful gift of facing death. It clarifies the core of life. It guides us toward deliberately living, rather than merely following the schedule. The Tibetan Book of the Dead transforms the idea of death from that of a teacher only to that of a great chance for enlightenment. The lessons express, at the time of passage, the unveiling of the clear light. This light stands for the ultimate reality and captures the center of our actual selves. The road to emancipation opens out when the soul can see and join with this light. Death, then, is a period of great spiritual potential rather than a failure or defeat. Still, it's crucial to understand that we shouldn't wait to start the road of awakening till the last moments of life. The idea of dying inspires in our present daily lives the clarity, courage, and presence that we may foster. Using awareness, meditation, and compassion, we can reach the great truths underlined by death. They encourage us to align our lives with our deepest values and prepare our hearts for the inevitable journey each of us will take. When we reflect on our life, we start to see death as a guiding principle, a mild, constant reminder of the finite nature of our time on this planet. And instead of causing fear inside us, this understanding could inspire gratitude. Even in the most ordinary events of life, we really value the people close to us, the opportunities presented, and the beauty all around us. Death teaches us that every dawn is a wonderful gift, and that every breath we inhale is a huge miracle. This profound truth contains a paradox. We might find the fullness of life if we embrace death. We find ourselves free to seize opportunities, pursue our aspirations, and tell our loved ones the depth of our love for them when we stop trying to pretend life is endless. Death reminds us to welcome life with open hearts and strong spirits, as every moment is fleeting but highly significant. The lessons of death ultimately center on the core of life, not on the act of dying. Death calls us in our daily life toward increased knowledge, boldness, and profound awareness. They serve as a sobering reminder that death is not just the end of our journey, but rather a guiding force that is always present, offering guidance on how to live a life filled with significance, intention, and compassion. How can this teacher help you travel your path? If you totally accepted the reality of your own death, what changes could you make? Are you looking for more? Spread your forgiveness. However, it's not too late. Death offers lessons in these areas. If we pay attention, they could alter our daily living before it ends, and our attitude to it. One would question whether the significant revelations of the Tibetan Book of the Dead still hold relevance in the constantly changing scientific and technological environment of today. Surprisingly, the response is really relevant. The lessons wonderfully combine ancient spirituality with current science and psychology. They also enable us to embrace change, discover meaning in uncertainty, and realize our role in the eternally running cycle of life and death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead investigates consciousness as much as the hereafter. Here it conforms to current scientific knowledge. Quantum physics and neuroscience look at the centuries-old subject of what awareness is. What becomes of awareness following death? Is life more than what we come in contact with and see? Think of contemporary near-death studies. Those who have confronted death have reported amazing encounters, such as a blinding light, peace and love, or even a sensation of existing beyond their body. These tales sometimes parallel the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which charts the soul's path via bardos, where it sees light and reflects its own essence. Could these relationships suggest that the old wisdom of the book represents universal truths about human consciousness? These days, academics are asking similar questions to close the distance between science and spirituality. Beyond science, the Tibetan Book of the Dead offers invaluable insight for daily living. One of its most important lessons is to appreciate transitions, not just death, but also life's many small changes and conclusions. Mini-deaths, events when we bid farewell to one chapter and welcome the next, include a new job, a new place, a relationship ending, or even the quiet passage of time. Although these changes are unsettling, the paragraph reveals chances for personal development. These times help us release what no longer serves us, consider our actual selves, and boldly begin again. How frequently do we turn away change because of our future worries? How frequently do we hang on to the past, despite its differences from who we are now? Tibetan teachings hold that every change, no matter how challenging, bears transformation. As the soul does in the Bardos, we can discover freedom in the inevitable changes of life if we welcome them with awareness and an open heart. This chapter helps us to view death as a natural part of life, rather than as a loss or a defeat. Modern society often views death as an enemy to combat, delay, or ignore. We discount it as an enemy instead of a guide. The Tibetan Book of the Dead advises a different viewpoint. Death is, we discover, the continuation of life. Death is a normal aspect of existence as seasons change and day gracefully goes to darkness. Accepting this reality helps us to live completely, savoring every moment free from thought about its end. Does modern society need that lesson? In a society that values perpetual happiness, success, and youth, perversity provides a release. It allows us to relinquish the notion of a fixed life and embrace change. It shows that, although transience gives every moment significance, nothing lasts permanently. This ageless truth can change our life. Thinking about impermanence lets us concentrate on what counts, let go of pointless concerns, and value transient beauty. Activities in mindfulness enable us to embrace the present and cease living on autopilot. Knowing death as inevitable in life allows us to accept loss, not only of loved ones but also of chances, phases of life, and variations of ourselves. The Tibetan Book of the Dead addresses today's identity and purpose concerns. Its lessons enable us to go inward in a society when we judge ourselves based on outside achievements or financial possessions. The book explains the journey of the soul as self-awareness, that knowledge of our actual nature, outside our responsibilities and possessions. The books provide psychological and spiritual guidance, as well as encouragement to be ourselves and pursue our beliefs. What is the modern interpretation of this ancient wisdom? It helps one to see life as a sequence of events, with opportunities for personal development. It implies realizing emancipation from impermanence instead of dread. It entails living with intention, compassion, and attention to help one be ready for death. Above all, it recognizes that the eternal lessons learned a millennium ago still direct us now and enable us to negotiate modern life with elegance and wisdom. Their most important lesson may be the reminder that life and death are complementary. Life and death are two sides of a single essence, entwined in reality. This basic truth brings harmony in every moment, as well as at the end of our voyage. The Tibetan Book of the Dead connects with the profound ideas in this movie, since it helps us to contemplate death and life. The concept that death marks a major change into richer consciousness motivates strength and humility. It helps us to understand ourselves and go over our fears. It has caused me to think about how deliberately I live and how often I see how fleeting my riches are. The lessons of this old book have bearings now. Even in times of uncertainty, they serve as a poignant reminder that life is precious, fleeting, and brimming with opportunities for personal growth. Accepting life and death transitions will help us to lead a more clear, compassionate, and brave existence. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, real transformation results from confronting our fears and using them for personal development. I advise using these ideas outside of this video. Look into deeply ingrained ideas about life and death. Think about what is essential and how you may lead a more conscious and deliberate life. Try mindfulness, meditation, or intense life's impermanence contemplation. Discuss with others how confronting death could enable us to live more truly. Come along as we welcome life with open hearts, courageous brains, and fresh goals. When we really value every moment, we find our outstanding capacity.